Action is a key component of almost all genres of fiction, and anime is no exception. While making good action scenes might seem easy on its face, there's a lot more to it than simply throwing a ton of bright lights and noise at the screen. Good action is tense and exciting, but it should also be easy to follow and have more to it than just the literal action in front of you. One thing that gets overlooked when it comes to action scenes is dialogue during them, or rather, the lack of dialogue at times. While there are obviously plenty of good reasons to have dialogue during major action scenes, there are just as many times when the wiser course of action is to just shut up and let the action speak for itself and let the characters involved focus on what's happening. We've all seen the memes making fun of overly long, talky battles in various anime, and many live-action movies, in particular modern superhero movies, also fall into this trap where the characters need to always be chatting and quipping during fight scenes. Sometimes the tone fits. For a non-anime example, Spider-Man has long been the type of character. But more often than not, it's a disservice to the action and only serves to deflate the tension and make the action scenes much less engaging. Fortunately, Girls Und Panzer is a show that knows when it's time to shut up and let the story tell itself without dialogue, both in action-heavy scenes and others as well. My first video on this show focused on one of the latter, and today we'll take a look at a couple of key, major battles where there is minimal dialogue to the action's benefit, though this concept is seen in pretty much all the show's battle scenes. As per usual, here's your spoiler warning for both the first season of Girls Und Panzer as well as their film. Fittingly, the two battles that I want to touch on today kind of bookend the Nishumi sisters arc, the final battle of season 1 between Miho and Maho, and the conclusion of their film where the two sisters unite to take on Alice and her lieutenants Azumi and Megumi. While I'm focusing primarily on the composition of the scenes today, as opposed to the narratives of the two battles, I'll have to at least touch on that as well. Let's start off with the first battle, the sisters' duel. It comes at the conclusion of the Orai Koromori Mine match, where Miho, realizing just how overwhelmed they're getting, comes up with the only viable plan to potentially secure victory. That is, set up a 1v1 between her and Maho. Since this is a flag tank match, and each of their tanks hold their team's flag, the winner of this duel decides the match. So, after using one of their only remaining tanks, the Porsche Tiger, as a blockade to the entrance of an abandoned high school campus, where better for a duel between two high school girls, they square off. The start of the battle here is the first and only time that Miho and Maho exchange words during the entire fight. And the only other dialogue during this 3+ minute long battle, not a small amount of time for a duel, is a quick exchange between Miho and her crew, partly to set up the final move and to remind us that Miho isn't fighting alone, one remark Miho makes to herself, and a brief moment where both commanders order their gunners to fire. That's it. All of us who've seen it know how edge of your seat this fight is, with the two tanks jockeying for position as they try to land the figuratively killing blow. Adding more dialogue to this would only serve to slow the pace and distract us from the mental and physical battle between the sisters. A lesser show probably would have had them talk to each other much more, whether for Maho to taunt her younger sister or something else, but that, apart from being logistically difficult due to all of the tank noise, would be out of character. As different as Miho and Maho are in some respects, they are very similar in other ways, and both are brilliant tank commanders, completely focused on the fight in front of them. Pointless chatter of any kind would be completely out of character, and besides, their expressions tell you everything you need to know. This is more like a game of high-level chess, with two masters trying to outplay the other. Additionally, the fact that while the action is ongoing there isn't a ton of shooting or other distractions clogging the screen help keep it easy to follow, thus not requiring dialogue to help the viewers out. Also, us just hearing them relay order after order to their crews wouldn't add anything important to the scene from a cinematic perspective. Of course, you can't just have a silent action scene, but that's where the show's impeccable sound design and music come into play. The music here has a more of an epic feel than that even in more serious action shows or movies, and, as a commenter mentioned in one of my previous videos, the same theme that played back in episode 6 when Maho arrived to offer her helicopter to help Mako plays here. Just as that scene essentially started the process of healing the fractured but not broken relationship between Miho and Maho, this scene is where that process is more or less completed. Miho and the audience are even rewarded with a rare Maho smile at the end, as she graciously accepts her defeat. And, of course, we can't forget the sounds of the tanks as they maneuver, fire, take damage, and even collide at times. It's just so good and really puts you in the moment. Despite the fact that Miho and Maho haven't really interacted a ton in the show previously, there is so much subtext to this battle, all told to us with almost nothing needing to be said. Adding chatter between the two sisters, let alone from the rest of Miho's crew, who aren't directly involved in the primary drama here, but only have hurt the scene. This is also seen in the final battle of their film, a 5-minute long battle that's only interrupted once, after Miho and Maho defeat Alice's lieutenants, and the battle goes from a 3v2 to a 2v1 matchup. In contrast to the previous climactic battle, here we get to witness the power of the Nishizumi sisters united, and the lack of dialogue here does a lot to show us just how well they are able to communicate with each other without speaking. Note how they use hand signals with each other a number of times during the battle. They certainly do communicate verbally a couple of times during the fight, such as just before they go to pull their final move, but again, trying to insert any more dialogue here would ruin a perfect scene. Not letting us hear their communication here both serves to maintain the pace of the scene, and it keeps us in the dark about their plans, thus demanding our full attention. It's also so much cooler seeing Miho and Maho fight completely in sync, each almost intuitively knowing what the other has in mind, and executing it perfectly. Once again, this is like a chess match between masters. They're all focused on the fight itself, not on anything distracting. There's just as much going on here as there was in the previous battle. Beyond the Nishizumi team-up, we have the scions of the rival Nishizumi and Shimada schools of thought duking it out as their mothers watch. The girls really never mention this, and of the three, only Alice, who never speaks to Miho or Maho at all in this scene, might even be aware of this dimension to the fight. But we're all well aware as the audience. Once again, Girls Und Panzer trusts its viewers to be paying attention and aware of the significance of this moment. We don't need to be reminded. I honestly can't think of many other modern pieces of visual entertainment, anime or otherwise, that so well understands the benefit of keeping the dialogue to a minimum without even shouts or exclamations. We have the epic music conveying the mood and the tension, and the awesome tank sounds to keep us grounded in the moment itself. It's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking that a climactic final battle needs to be the biggest, loudest part of a bigger action scene. Very often, simpler is better. Girls Und Panzer demonstrated from its very first episode that it was smartly written and well directed enough to understand that, especially in the medium of animation, where you can utilize visuals, music, and sound design to communicate important things to the audience, that you don't always need to have characters speaking. There's much more to say, of course, about each of these battles, but I don't want this video to be overly long, and I wanted to focus on why these battles are so dialogue light, and why this is such a boon for the scenes and the show itself. It's really striking how, the closer you look at Girls Und Panzer, the better it becomes in all aspects. If you enjoyed the video and would like to support the channel, links to my books and light novels are in the description below. Additionally, check out my Patreon. Among other rewards, such as early looks and new updates for my mecha serial, my light novels, and more, you get to see future videos early. And, of course, if you have any thoughts on this video, or aspects of the show you'd like me to talk about, definitely share them in the comments section below. I'd love to hear them, and I do my best to read and respond to all of the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. That's all for now, so until next time.